Hello, welcome to Generational Ministries. I am your host, Sandra Fitzgerald. Today, our short story is entitled Pieces of a Patchwork Quilt. Quilting is an art form that was born out of necessity. In the days where there was no central heating or central systems in modern-day furnaces, it could get quite cold in an old wooden frame house. Many moms and grandmothers spent days in their favorite rocking chair, stitching together bits and pieces of old garments their children had outgrown in order to make covers for their bed on those cold, frosty nights. Every now and again, one of the children would take a peek at Grandma's handiwork. The child could make no sense of what Grandma was doing. It just appeared she was wasting time filling with a bunch of old rags nobody wanted anymore. Unbeknown to the child, and way out of his range of understanding, Grandma was creating a thing of beauty out of what was now being considered something of no worth. She sews a piece of cloth from his first baby blanket. He can't even understand or remember the joy she felt as she held him, her first grandchild, in her arms. Then there's a bit of lace from his mother's wedding dress from many years ago. Grandma smiles as she stitches a square from her own rather old-fashioned wedding dress. Hers didn't even have lace, yet it held precious memories as if it had been sewn for the Queen herself. Bittersweet tears well up in Grandma's eyes as she sews on a piece left over of the favorite pants of her beloved husband. He's long dead now, yet her memories of their life together keeps her warm and warmer than that old wood stove that graces the center of the room. The swish of her rocking chair slows as she ever so carefully stitches a piece of her brother's old crummy army uniform to the rest of her treasures. She remembers the day he went off to war. His grand adventure, he called it. There was a mixture of pride, joy, and profound sadness the day they received the telegram informing the family of his honorable last mission defending his country. All that's left now are his personals and an old uniform he left behind on a visit home. All of the treasures of her life are stitched together in this masterpiece. This archive of her family's history will live on through the generations of time as she pieces together a living testimony of days gone by. As she finishes her work, her grandson now understands what it was she was accomplishing. Grandma had stitched together bits and pieces of what seemed like useless scraps and made them something lasting and beautiful, and above all, something useful. It would be many years later before the full implications of his grandmother's efforts would dawn on his understanding. He had no idea that the times spent with Grandma was shaping his life. He can't know down the road in his future he'll be sitting by a large oak desk filled with pictures of his children, writing his third bestseller, all about his life as a child in an old frame house, sitting by a wood stove, watching Grandma stitch together bits and pieces of cloth as she sat in her favorite rocking chair. Now let's switch gears and use our mind's eye and see God, the master quilter, stitching together bits and pieces of our lives. As we remember events of our lives, we would probably throw away the painful parts, like the broken heart that was damaged by family members, or the shattered dream of not being picked for the sports team, the heartache of dealing with acne and adolescent baby fat that just wouldn't go away, the torment of being teased for being different or weird or being called a nerd, we would definitely throw those memories away, going to the prom alone, and we would pack away the dress that held so much promise on our wedding day, yet testified of a dramatic and traumatic divorce. We would box up all the memories of childhood struggles when it never seemed to be enough of anything, such as money, food, or clothes to go around. We wouldn't think about the times we didn't get enough rest. There was always something to do. Soon as the sun comes up until the sun goes down, a never-ending cycle of back-breaking labor. We would put away the pieces of hurt and abandonment we felt at the death of our loved ones. The times of illness would be placed on a box marked "Do Not Touch," along with the depression and sad times of our life. We would pack away all the experiences as useless bits and pieces of our lives that hold little or no worth to us. Yet the master quilter stitches all of these pieces together and creates in us something lasting and something beautiful, but above all, something useful. God stitches the hurts and pains from our early life into our character, creating people of inner strength that learns how to deal with and overcome adversities, and to teach others from our wellspring of experiences and knowledge. The young man that was crushed at not being picked for the team grows up to become a world-famous sportscaster. The shy teenager that was tormented by acne and baby fat that just wouldn't go away is now a very successful teen counselor that has helped many young girls to overcome self-esteem issues and embrace their individualities, teaching them that it's okay to go to the prom alone. The important thing is to learn the dance and the ballet of life with uniqueness and balance. She affirms them and teaches them the most lasting and valuable lesson in life are learned in solitude. She stresses the fact that the only way to like yourself is to spend time by yourself, getting to know yourself. The irony is she acquired this wisdom by being stitched by the master quilter at a very painful and lonely time in her own life. He didn't discard that piece of her life. He used it to create beauty in the wonderful designs of her life in the years to come. The master quilter opens the box marked "Do Not Touch" and lays out a pattern before him as he intricately stitches patches of loneliness and pieces of lack and ribbons of trauma from past hurts and pains. He pulls up long strips of bereaved material left over and still echoing with the voices of lost loved ones gone home to rest. He uncovers the trunk of disappointment and shattered hopes and dreams, and he began to masterpiece with the tattered bits and pieces and fragments of the life that he now holds in his hands. The beauty of his work unfolds as he cuts and measures and sews. He deftly stitches in a large, ragged piece of heartache from a little boy who was labeled a disgusting nuisance in his science class. And his once because of his love of dissecting frogs, but now he is the chief surgeon at a highly respected medical center. Another little boy's scraps are folded and nimbly stitched into a bright future as a computer giant, but not before having been ripped apart as a child and mercilessly teased about his oversized glasses and beat up because he was different from the other boys. Polka dot patterns and lace apron stitches are being stitched into a little girl's quilt. Long after the death of her mother, she will remember lessons learned at Mommy's knee, and she grows up to raise her own children and care for her own household. She will hear the dear art of making gravy and homemade biscuits. She will remember how to can and produce produce for the spring and summer, and she will value the discipline and strength of character that can only be developed through hard work. But most of all, she will remember the scriptures her mother taught her as they picked plums from an old fruit tree on the farm. No, we simply cannot see the quilt as it is being so lovingly sewn together. We can only feel the pain of the needles as our lives are being sewn into the pattern of what we will become. The master quilter takes bits and pieces of joy, sadness, triumphs, failures, and victories, defeats, and with his delicate touch and timeless pattern, he weaves an individual and unique thing of beauty in all of our lives. From his vantage point, he alone can see the end result of the intricate and delicate stitchings of the pieces of our patchwork quilt. Thank you so much for listening, and I want you to remember that God alone knows what will become of these lives he gives us. Sometimes we get cracks and he fixes us back up. Sometimes we get gashed and he stitches us up. But the main thing is, God knows how much we can bear, and he already knows what our end will be. So we just go along with life, doing the best we can, being the best we can, living simple lives with integrity. I believe we will get to see the end. And like Paul, we can say, I fought a good fight, and I kept the faith, and now is laid up for me a crown of righteousness. Thank you so much for listening to our Generational Ministries, and we hope you tune in again. Thank you.